Hello, everyone. Welcome to the show. You are watching our Brunch, the flagship show on the travel agency. You may be watching this show somewhere else today. We typically host them only on Twitch, so if you happen to be tuning in from somewhere other than that, welcome to the show. Welcome to the stream. The best conversations right now take place on in our Twitch chat room. So if you are interested in conversing with our community, head over there, twitch.tv/, the travel agency. Linkhold, what's up, dude? He says yeet. Um, so, if it's your first time watching the show, if it's your first time watching the stream, I want to tell you a little bit about what the travel agency is. The travel agency's mission is to nurture a digitally native platform that hosts contemporary art making, produces art-centered entertainment, and provides digital residencies with multimedia exhibition opportunities for emerging artists. We present contemporary art in an approachable manner and provide tools and expertise to artists to share their practice in new ways. Our live media programming, which you're watching right now, cultivates unconventional audiences, promotes understanding through interaction, and provides alternate avenues for public interest and support for the arts. Each week, every Sunday, Art Brunch hosts a member of the art community to talk about contemporary art in a casual way. So yeah, thanks for tuning in. If you are interested, if you are not subscribed to our YouTube page, we're posting a lot of archives and a lot of new content over on YouTube. So I just want to provide y'all with that link. If you're interested in checking out our YouTube, that would be really helpful. So just toss us a subscription over there. It's free. And we'll have more exciting stuff to share with y'all about ways and avenues and additional content coming from the travel agency soon. So follow us on Twitch for that. Keep up with us wherever it feels good and feels comfortable to you. I am going to introduce, or just really not introduce, he needs no introduction. Just welcome in friend and co-collaborator, co-captain, Jake Leach. I am doing well. Good morning. My voice is a little slow to wake up. It seems like I just have a little throat rust, a little morning rust, but as time goes on and I get some of this drink in me, we'll get it going. How are you? Oh, go ahead. Mm.
Don't have Jake's volume. Don't have Jake's volume.
Oh, hold on a second, Jake. It seems like the desktop audio is not working. One second.
I'll practice my looks.
Maybe it's working now.
Good?
I think so.
We're feeling good?
I think. Try it again.
Hello, hello, check
Yeah,
one,
that should
two.
work. Okay, so what I was saying was
Yes.
I had some throat rust, and then you were talking about yes, I think we got the audio problems fixed. Thanks, chat. What were you talking about?
Oh, just making an entrance, you know.
Yeah,
Sometimes it's not having any audio at all.
I
That's the best kind of entrance,
I toss it over to you, but I don't really give you much to work with, except like a nice like hi, you know.
Yeah. But
But
then that's where we can ping and pong here, you know. We can really make this
mm,
a collaborative effort to get the show off the road, you know.
mm-hmm. Yeah,
That's right, off the road.
genius name for the game, ping pong.
It is.
I mean, what else could it be called?
I
Tiddlywinks?
don't even want to venture to guess.
Oh,
I
okay.
think ping pong is truly the greatest, and I think we should just stick with it.
That's going up
For
against a
perfection.
behemoth, right?
I think so.
Yeah, I mean, it's one of the best names for a sport out there.
Besides like squash, maybe.
I don't think squash indicates at all what's going on in squash. Oh,
So
table tennis, says T
so
Green
you
Girl.
like you only like sports that have what is that? Like where the word sounds like the thing that it is? What is that term? Let's
Oh,
get the
an onomatopoeia?
Yeah,
Yeah,
right?
yeah. No, I don't know.
Yeah. Although squat anyway. Yeah. Anyway,
I mean, you do
my
kind of
squash
squash
one.
the ball, but it's not like a big squash of the ball.
Yeah. Welcome to Sport Brunch Chat. This is where we chat about onomatopoeia sports during brunch. It's great. That's what you're all here for, right?
Linkold says Tetris is my favorite sport. Uh,
I feel like mentally that makes sense. Yeah.
there's one thing that was like named the greatest video game protagonist of all time, and somebody posted the straight line piece in Tetris, and, and I think that that's very accurate.
Wow.
So shout out to Liney. Um, we have a guest today. Our
We
guest
do.
is Aaron Owens, a friend of yours.
Hmm.
You brought Aaron to the stream. We'll get to that in a second. But I wanted to read Aaron's bio as a method of introducing him. Aaron Owens' work focuses on marginal landscapes in the intersection of human and natural forms. Themes within his artistic practice often touch on questions of surveillance, the splintering of man from nature in popular imagination, and what a holistic approach to modern ecology looks like on the ground and from above. After graduating from Sacramento State with a BS in geography, Aaron began to translate the observational and technical skills essential to the discipline into an artistic practice. His work has been shown at Washington University in St. Louis, Granite City Arts and Design District, and We Galleries, Hong Kong. I totally messed that up. His work has appeared in View magazine, Tube magazine, the Moonzine, and been featured in collaboration with music labels Distant Bloom, Dinzu Artifacts. He currently lives and works in St. Louis, Missouri. So, everyone, please give a warm welcome to our guest, Aaron Owens. Welcome to the show.
Happy to be here.
Yeah, and then this is another opportunity. Throw it to the guest. Throw it to the person being here. Maybe I should
Oh,
like
this happens sometimes.
be like,
We're getting it out the gate. We're gonna let it.
can you not see me?
Well, at least I mean,
Oh, there we go, Rick. We're back. Okay.
Oh, okay. I was still getting you.
You were on a roll. Okay, sorry.
Anyways, for those of you tuning in, our guest is Aaron Owens. Welcome to the show. So, Jake, you introduced me to Aaron. How did you two come to know each other?
Well, I knew Aaron, I would say, as like a scene acquaintance, certainly, a pal that I would see at shows, primarily at the Schlafly Tap Room, at Nathan Cook's Bruxism series, which is an incredible show. It's 3 acts, all of various experimental spectrum of sounds. And I guess, Aaron, were you like the resident photographer for that event?
yeah, I kind of foisted myself onto Nathan.
Oh.
He had been doing those Bruxism shows for a while, and I had been taking pictures on my own, and I was inspired by a trip to Treefort Music Festival out in Boise. Um, a friend of mine was heavily involved with, and I had been going to for a number of years. Um, and so it kind of coincided with that. I was feeling excited about music and stuff. And so I emailed Nathan and was like, can I start, like, I don't know what I'm doing, but can I take pictures of your show or whatever? So,
Yeah.
um, and he's yet to get rid of me. So, yeah. So I think that's, yeah, that was the first time that we met, at least from a distance. You played one of those Bruxism shows and I was photographing. So, and then that gave me a good excuse to become like social media friends with a lot of folks in the experimental music scene. I'd take their picture and then try to be friends with them on Facebook or
Yeah.
Instagram so that I could be like, I know you don't know me, but I got pictures of you if you want them.
Yeah.
So,
Well, you were just there for the clout. We get it. We get it. Whatever, Aaron. It wasn't for the art. You just wanted to meet all these cool people like me and Nathan. No, but
Yeah,
I
I
mean, it is
mean,
the magic of like the photographer of being like,
Yeah.
hey, not only do I have a picture of you that's A, extremely cool, but B, like of you performing, which I think
Hmm.
is even like an additional layer of like, ooh, I really like this the amount of like there kind of is no like calculatable worth number associated with that because it's just it's beyond you know the world of how much that's worth. So so thank you for your service in that way and for doing that. But also like I love just that machine of that show was just like you know, every show was free. The artists, from what I recall, get paid very well. There was always like a free print or a free tape, and then there's a resident incredible photographer like taking photos. Like I'm like, this is how every show should be, you know. And it's like a really inclusive, like both like in sonic spectrum of the music, but then also like every kind of person played. And it's just I really miss it. I mean, I miss shows. I imagine you do too, but I feel like there was a certain magic at those particular shows in general. So
yeah, I mean, I got so much out of those bruxism shows. I mean, I'm hoping that they'll continue, you know, here someday. But you know, I probably went to. I mean, he did over 40 of them. So,
you're
Oh,
right.
wow.
and I think I went to probably at least. I think I went to probably about 20 of them, 15, 20 of them.
Yeah.
Um, and yeah, I mean, so you know, coming back to St. Louis, and you know, you have old friends and stuff, but you know, being mid to late 20s and trying to find like a new community, new friends that kind of meet you where you are now and stuff. I think bruxism really helped kind of just help me with that. So help me find like-minded folks, a community of people, and I mean that's all Nathan's doing. So
For sure.
um,
Well, shout out Nathan Cook out there if he's watching. And then what got us to today is, you know, I followed you on Instagram and I just started seeing your drone work, and you know, we'll get all up into that. But that's
Yeah.
was just a long time fan of your work, and was just like, we got to get Aaron on the show. I don't know if he's as we come to find out later. Hey, there's my vocal rust, Rick.
There you go.
Thanks a
See,
lot, bro.
you
You
getting
came,
the rust out
you know.
and knock the rust off. We just
There
ate
we go.
pancakes last week. We're a little rusty.
I'm still recovering.
Pancakes
Um,
oxidized the vocal cords.
Yes,
Mm.
exactly. So, but yeah, so I want to thank Rick for having his version of bruxism, which would be art brunch.
yeah.
This has honestly been my bruxism for another excuse to just get to know either people I've already sort of known or just a deep dive on folks who I've never met before. And so it's been this is my opportunity to
Yeah.
socially climb and get to meet folks in the digital sphere. So
I accept your gratitude and then quickly move on. So what's the connection between the shows and here it comes again? What the bruxism actually means, like grinding your teeth.
I was gonna say, yeah. Does anyone know? I mean, I think it's just a cool term for grinding your teeth,
Yeah.
bruxism. But I don't think I know exactly.
Is there a lot of drug
I've,
use at these shows?
I mean, who's to say, Rick?
Okay.
I
That's
mean,
all the answer that I need, I guess.
there's some abrasive acts that would occasionally perform. So I think that I think the term fit maybe not all the acts, but maybe certainly some of them. So
I didn't know that that's what it meant. I thought it was like some like architectural, like I thought it was like a reference to like some kind of like architectural thing, because it seems like that could like bruxism could be a moment in architecture history, but
Like a
like
brutalist
brutalism,
kind of
yeah.
vibe? Yeah.
So that's like where I immediately went, but it's good to know the definition and the types of things I would need to bring with me to go to a bruxism show.
Yeah. Be careful.
Yeah.
Wear your mouth guard for sure. I think that's absolutely needed for that.
The chat belongs to Linkhold now, says Linkhold.
Okay.
Um,
He tends to own the chat anyway, so that's good.
it's true.
I want that space for him.
So we have a beverage to rate today.
We do.
Yeah, Jake, you wanna fill us in here?
Yeah. Well, everyone, welcome to the Canned Crucible. First of all, for those tuning in for the first time, we have a canned beverage. Oh, I talked over it. I'm so sorry.
No, it was actually good.
You want to run it again? Okay. Yeah. Okay. And So yeah, canned beverages, all about the cans. We love cans. Big aluminum fans over here.
Hmm.
And this time we have a canned green coffee drink known as Cobra Verde. You can pick this up at your local
Mm.
Whole Foods. The
Hmm.
can is very green. Um, and before I think we really get in there and get our group pop, as we call it, could do a little bit of canned copy. Rick,
Yeah.
I kind of introed this one. Why don't you do the canned copy this time?
Oh, I
Feel like
don't.
we kind of switched roles a little bit here. Why
Oh,
don't you do
okay. Yeah. Awaken to the greener side of coffee with Cobra Verde, an exhilarating, all natural coffee drink that is refreshment in its purest form, harnessing the power of green coffee beans and invigorating citrus flavor. Cobra Verde is clean, green energy you can rely on.
So this is a trooper. This one fights for you. This is a fighter drink, I guess.
Yeah, the option was between Cobra Verde and I actually myself got the alternative Paleo Verde,
Okay.
just because you sent me that and I thought, wow, this looks even crazier. But I'm glad that we stuck with one that seems like reasonable. Like this one is a cobra, which is a natural thing, but it's an animal. It's something that I can hold as an
Yeah.
idea inside of my head. This one is a volcano, and which is made out of rocks and lava and like various gases that I don't understand. And I don't think that I can hold the idea of a volcano in my head.
No, I hear that.
Linkhold says, fun fact, verde is Spanish for green.
No way.
That's crazy.
No way.
And the can's green?
Dang, bro, that's crazy. Well, before we really get in this, Aaron, I'm curious. Have you ever tried? And I'll answer my own question. I haven't. Green coffee before.
No, I did not know it was a thing. So that's how far away I am from.
Okay.
So it's like a green coffee extract, I think. And
So it's pre-roasted is the idea, right?
exactly, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. So I've had green coffee extract in a simple pleasure that I used to enjoy called an organic rock star, which is like totally a contradictory idea. That you would first of all want a rock star, like who are you? Second of all, want an organic rock star. But
Yeah.
that's what I was rocking for a little bit, and that had green coffee extract in it instead of just like concentrated caffeine, which had a better vibe, but still like fucked me up. I had one on a vacation in the before times, and it was the first time I had one in years, and then I just like became devoid of all emotions. It was kind of strange feeling. Maybe that's what being a rock
just to
star
make
is
sure-
like.
Yeah. Rockstar, the energy drink brand.
Exactly.
It's not that. Yeah. Just for the journalistic integrity here.
Well, not what's the alternative?
I don't know. I was lost. I don't know. I don't know the energy drink world enough, so I just want to like, if there's anyone out there who didn't know what Rick was talking about, maybe I'm the one person.
I was talking to my people.
You can't not talk to your people, Rick. I get it.
So we ready to pop this bad boy open?
Let's pop it.
All right. Ready? Count of three. 1, 2, 3. Oh yeah.
That was nice.
Don't suggest smelling it.
Okay.
Were we supposed to shake this?
I don't know.
It doesn't say to shake it anywhere.
Okay.
Is it carbonated? It's carbonated. Okay, I'm glad we didn't shake.
Yeah.
Okay, did you all sip?
Yeah, I got a good one. I got a good first one going.
Woo! Wow, that's astringent. All right.
Okay. Well, yeah. Rick, tell us how we're gonna.
Let's
break this down.
slide into this. So in the Can Crucible, we have we have three metrics that we rate the can on a scale of 1 to 1,000. It's flavor, mouthfeel, and emotion are the three. So you can kind of keep those generally in your mind. We are going to start with flavor, and our guest always takes us off. So Aaron, on a scale of 1 to 1,000, give us a little like commentary on the flavor, and then give us a rating.
I don't know if I have the adjectives. Cobra Verde. Yeah, I don't know. It tastes a little tinny.
Yep. Hmm.
But I keep drinking it, so I guess that's good. I'm not like throwing it out the window or anything. Um, yeah, 1 to 1,000. I mean, I'd probably maybe like 550, something like
550.
that. Like
Solid F.
borderline, like C, like middle of the road,
Yeah.
but like enough to I'll probably drink it all. So
Yeah.
yeah,
Yeah, that's vibes. Windy Elb, the rust is getting better. Hopefully the Cobra helps kind of. I think that this could definitely get the rust out of something.
yeah, it's like
Yeah.
like Coca-Cola on a car battery.
Yeah, yeah.
Absolutely.
Jake, how you feeling about this?
So I used to work at a vegetarian vegan restaurant called Frida's in University City, Missouri. Shout out. And we had a drink there that was very aptly named due to its contents, the ginger lemon soda.
Mm-hmm.
And it contained ginger, it contained lemon, contained soda. Anyway, this is definitely the closest thing I've had since that time to that flavor. Um, which is to say, I really actually enjoy it. That was something I would get quite often. Uh, it's extremely fruity. Like it's very citrusy. Like you think it's coffee. The drink is definitely green or clear, if not. Like it's not a black coffee in any way.
Oh
So
yeah,
that's the roast.
it contains 25% juice.
Okay. So like for everyone out there, like this is like citrus in a can. Like
Yeah.
this is very citrusy.
Orange juice,
Uh,
lemon juice, and peach juice, but it's very one or two of those.
yes. And I wonder what just straight up green coffee would be on its own. Like if that would taste any good. So flavor, I'll get to that probably. So, but flavor wise, I'm really actually quite enjoying this. So I'm gonna go 750 on this.
750. Okay.
I'm really good about it.
Uh,
Feel healthy. Feel like rejuvenated.
If you couldn't tell, I was kind of chomping at the bit. I kind of cut you off in your explanation because I'm really feeling it. And Wendy, yes, I upped Jake's mic, and T Green Girl, it was a good pop. It was a really good pop.
Perfect.
So for me, I'm unabashedly into energy drinks. I don't drink them very often, but I love kind of like the extremeness of some of those things. I like caffeine. I think they're, a convenience tool. I don't think they're really that bad, I think they get a lot of flack and they do a lot for us, like Red Bull. What a great company.
Gives you wings.
Shout out to Felix Baumgartner. And this tastes extreme to me. Like the first couple sips I had, I was not ready for what this is. I feel like it's just like lemon juice and water.
It kind of is. It kind of definitely is.
It's starting to even out a little bit. There is this like weird funk. There's like a strange funk in mine somewhere in there, kind of like 3/4 towards the end. The funk emerges. I don't know where that's coming from. I don't know what that is. I'm not a huge fan of that part, but I can rock with it. 675.
675. All right.
Next up is mouthfeel. So take us away.
Yeah, I mean, I got no complaints. I mean,
Hmm.
I said this in our pre-thing. I mean, I'm pretty much just a water and black coffee, not together, but throughout my day, it's like black coffee and then water, and that's about all I drink. So, like any sort of encounter with flavor kind of takes me by surprise, I think. So, I mean, mouthfeel. I don't know. It's pleasant. It's. I don't know if it's quite like refreshment in its purest form, but
Hmm.
but I call it refreshing, and yeah, there's kind of like I there's like the initial is is somewhat pleasant. There's a little midsection that's like a little bit of funk, and then I
Mhm.
think there's a little bit of peach at the end that
Mm.
feels good. Um, and yeah, I mean it's yeah, I'm sticking with the 550.
Okay.
Okay.
It really sounded like you liked it more than that. But
Maybe I'm just kind of skewed. I mean there's you got to leave room for all these other drinks.
That's true.
Just
I mean, like it's like one to 1,000, right? Like right in the middle. I think
yeah.
that's pretty solid.
Yeah.
No, that
So,
is. That is. It's
it's like
just
the definition of solid right there.
Yeah,
we're
it's
just so
10%
used to
above middle of the
yeah.
road. Yeah.
we're just so used to people going off the rails with their ratings. So this is actually feels really good to have someone
Mhm.
have a very sound opinion.
Yeah, maybe I'm just conservative by nature or something. I want to leave these.
Big
I don't like this
Monstera.
great inflation. This great inflation has just ruined,
You, you
our
get data.
institutions.
Yeah, you get it. We
Mm.
need honest data.
Big Monstera in the chat just reiterated, LOL, any encounter with flavor is a surprise. I think that's so far the quote of the stream. Feels good.
I'm gonna say mouthfeel. I feel like it's staying just the right amount of time. I feel like
Mm.
when it comes in, it's like it's a welcomed guest, not leaving any weird residue taken off after that. I think I'm gonna keep my rating 750. I'm gonna keep that going. I'm gonna keep mine on the straight and narrow a little bit, but it just feels right. Like I'm really enjoying this so far. Rick, how about you?
Yeah, I think it's supposed to be a carbonated beverage, but mine just seems like flat. Like I'm not getting any like bubble feel in my mouth, but I'm getting all of the like negative carbon tastes that you get from like a flat drink.
Yeah.
Like LaCroix doesn't turn back into water. It turns, it's not just like water with peach in it. It's like water, peach, and carbon, but more like carbon, water, peach.
Yeah.
Uh, which is saying that the flavor in LaCroix tastes less than water. Um, and with this drink, it sparkles. I hear it. It's implying that it's carbonated, but I'm not like getting any bubble feel, which
I don't think you hear any bubbles.
you don't hear any bubbles? Did I just get like a
I
bad
think so.
can? Is my can just like fermented?
It's in there for way too. Yeah, look for the expiration date on that. real
Yeah.
quick.
So I'm not a fan. I think they should have gone further or just not put any carbonation in there at all. I'm gonna give it a 350.
Okay.
Whoops, it's kombucha. Says the chat. It's so nasty. I hate that. Okay, and finally, well, we got this, and then we have like a yes or no question that we end this off with. But the final thing that we ask is for you to rate it on a scale of 1 to 1,000 for emotion. So, Aaron, use your like data skills, that hard research part of your brain. Just really get into like just construct a few spreadsheets mentally and come to like a reasonable conclusion about its rating on the emotional scale.
Yeah, I don't know. It hit me pretty good. I mean, is surprise is an emotion.
Yeah, yeah.
I mean, or confusion is an emotion. And then I go pretty high on it. I mean, maybe I'll reach up to 750 on the emotion.
Oh, okay.
It kind of took me, it grabbed me by the lapels, a little bit.
Uh-huh.
It was like made me question things.
Also, Aaron, if you're curious if anything else is or is not an emotion, feel free to ask us and we'll let you know.
And I'm gonna soften that blow by saying grab me by the lapels. I don't know if
Yeah.
I've ever heard that phrase before. I love that. I am stealing that, and I hope I'm all about that. My emotion, I always say like I feel good, as if like good is a high rating. Like
Mm-hmm.
that's it's about emotion, not good or bad.
Mm-hmm.
But the amount of emotion I'm feeling from this, whether good or bad, is high for me. So this is my attempt at a data-driven answer. I'm gonna go 751.
Okay, wow. Out
The
here.
Price is Right. Yeah.
little more.
Uh, is caffeinated an emotion?
Yeah.
Yeah,
Oh yeah.
because I'm already
should be.
feeling. I don't know if it's like. Well, last time when we had the Bush and A, at this point in the drinking, I was already feeling drunk, and and
Even though
it.
there was no alcohol.
Uh-huh. Yeah. So at this point in this conversation, I'm already feeling like my heart rate is increasing, and like I'm feeling caffeinated. I'm definitely feeling emotions, but like there's no time. I don't know. Maybe it's just like the feeling that you get when you just do a shot of lemon juice. Maybe that's like what I'm feeling.
Yes.
I'm loving it. I'm loving everything about what's going on here. 988.
Let's go. I like that. Well, and Rick, I'm glad you said lemon shot because at that same business I worked at, you could buy a ginger lemon shot, which contains no alcohol. It was just juiced
Yeah.
ginger and lemon,
Hmm.
and it is absolutely the same effect as alcohol. Like, if it was like, okay, really bad tequila or that, like, which one's gonna make you like feel like, whew, like
A
it's gonna be
flush.
the
Yeah.
actually most natural thing.
Mm.
Because it's like it's just like it's so heavy, but it felt so good every time. So we'd like before we do like group shots of ginger lemon before a shift, and I swear it definitely helped. It like got things moving. It was great.
The last
Um,
question that we have is it crushable?
ooh yeah.
So crushable is defined as like you could pound it if you wanted to or needed to, right? Is that how we define crushable?
Definitely.
Uh-huh. Yeah.
I would not want to. Uh, given the things that given the things that I have crushed over the past, maybe decade and a half,
Uh-huh.
I would say I could. I feel like I still have it in me
Yeah.
to do those sorts of that sort of things, but I don't want to.
No, I think that in the spirit of the question, that's a no. Like
Okay.
I
Yeah,
think that
I'm comfortable with a no. I'm comfortable with a solid no then.
yeah.
That's fine.
Yeah, yeah. Because crushable, I think indicates that like I could crush this. Like being able to say like I could crush this with a smile.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Implies that you
Like it
want
would be
to.
like a pleasant sort of like I could crush that and like and enjoy doing it, that
Mhm.
sort of thing.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's
Totally.
not that would be a no for me then.
I'm gonna go with no as well. I don't know if we need to go around the horn for this. Maybe we just have the guests say if it's crushable or not. But I agree. I don't want to do it. So
I
I
think
don't
it's
think
I think it's crushable.
really.
Oh.
Isn't
Yeah,
there like railings?
like if I was trying to feel something,
Yeah.
I might crush it.
Okay. Just like you're walking out, like you start at the top of your stairs of your building. You just drink it in the entirety of the staircase, and you walk out a new man. Just like start the new day.
Yeah.
I
Yeah,
think that'd be the way to go
with the cape.
with the cape.
All right, so
Well,
I'm going to I'm going to calculate these scores here and kick it over to you, Jake, for the Astro Nook.
the Astro Nook. All right. Well, everyone, welcome to the Astro Nook. A very brief dip into the astrological world of our guests. It's the thing we do on our show. It's very fun, especially when people who aren't necessarily into astrology, which I'm not saying Aaron is or isn't, but there are some people who just squirm in these spaces. And I'm not trying to push any sort of lifestyle or methodology. It's just a fun way to keep things light and fun. This is television after all. So what Aaron let me know before our show, backstage, is that he is in fact an Aries, although he's on the cusp of Aries, kind of in that space, but definitely an Aries, which means that he is a fire sign. The attribute of that is that he's a cardinal fire sign, though, so has this kind of like leadership energy with the fire. And just to give you a reference of some of the Aries folks in the world, we like to here on the travel agency, we like to tell people the famous rappers that are associated with their sign. So in terms of Aries, we have Lil Nas X, we have Quavo of the Migos, we have Ski Mask, the Slump God, Chance the Rapper, Big Sean, Young Ma or Young Ma. I thought it was Young Ma for the longest time.
Me
Uh,
too. Shows what we
Quando,
know.
yeah, okay. Quando Rondo, Dej Loaf, Juicy J.
Okay.
Um, there's always going to be like MC Hammer, Debrat. I'm getting a good range here. Young Jock. Oh, there's a lot of Aries rappers. Yeah, those are the big ones. So lots of good energy there. those Aries getting out there. Oh, Big Sean. I didn't even mention Big Sean.
Mm.
I missed him entirely. Okay.
Don't we don't need to mention Big Sean.
So maybe I should miss everyone with that Big Sean.
I
Um,
personally think so, but who am I?
okay, we're gonna start some beef here with the Big Sean stands.
Big Sean is never allowed on our brunch. Let me just put that out there.
Okay, Rick. Good lord. So just also, so you kind of have an idea about this. So, something we are doing here is that we talk about the signs and the ideas of their strengths and their weaknesses. And not every strength is actually a strength. Not every weakness is necessarily weakness. So we're kind of just see what people feel about these kind of ideas. So we have that a strength of Aries is courageous, determined, confident, enthusiastic, optimistic, honest, passionate. Weaknesses include impatient, moody, short tempered, impulsive, or maybe even aggressive. And so, Aaron, my question to you is in all of those strengths and weaknesses, again, courageous, we've got short tempered, but we also have confident, but we also have aggressive, enthusiastic. How do you feel like any of those traits have influenced your work in any way, or maybe the way you practice?
Um, yeah, I don't know. I mean, I maybe the confidence stuff. I probably a bit overconfident and just like not necessarily the quality of the work, but just like the ability to like throw it out there, I guess, or just like to go into places. Uh, yeah, I don't know. I mean, like I said, I don't necessarily see myself in a lot of those Aries things. So
Okay.
so I mean, like I consider myself pretty patient, and I don't really have much of a temper. I guess I am pretty. I guess I am moody, or can be.
Do you think those are things that were natural in your personality, or are those things that you've like recognized and worked on over time to have that ability? Like I guess that's kind of what I'm curious about, because a lot of those negative things, like in healthy people, they have addressed in one way or another.
Yeah, that's a good question. I would consider it pretty natural as far as my sort of like I don't know, easygoing sort of nature.
Mm-hmm.
Uh, so I mean, I try to work on myself, I guess, in ways. So I can always be a little bit better about those things. But yeah, I've also heard stuff about Aries as far as not finishing projects.
Interesting.
Which I think I do probably identify with that, if that is actually a true statement. So yeah, I would identify with like confidence and the idea that like I seem to have the idea that like I can do these things when I probably have no reason to think that, and the idea of difficult to like finish, like get to the finish line. Like I'm pretty good like all the way up to like 85%, and then there's like that last little hurdle where I'm just like, you know what, I'm just gonna find something else to do, occupy my time. So
Almost there, bro. Well, if I'm not mistaken, you said overconfidence. Like you've wrestled with overconfidence in some way, and I'm curious. Like I'm always interested in. I'm so glad you. I guess technically I said the word confidence first, but like I'm glad we're talking about this because I feel like a lot of artists struggle with confidence in their own work, and you said overconfidence. So I'm curious what you mean by that exactly.
yeah, I guess that's kind of why I circle back, because I don't really want to give the impression that I'm confident in any of the things that I do, but the idea that like I didn't go to art school. I kind of came at a lot of this art stuff like through other channels. And so I know a lot of people, so like just the idea of like feeling like I can go into these spaces and like create work and like show them feels a little bit overconfident to me in some ways. Yeah, I mean maybe that's just, I mean I think that's just something to do with just being like a white male, but white straight male, but it's something that I'm aware of like maybe being a little bit overconfident with taking pictures in places, or the drone work and stuff. Just like some of the places I go to fly the drone and stuff like that, it takes a certain amount of confidence that I don't necessarily I'm not necessarily aware of until people point it out, that like that's maybe not something that everybody thinks is okay. So
Wow.
Yeah. I have an example in my notes for our conversation today that I want to speak about that like very pointedly because a lot of those I think that comes up in the work that you do, and I'm glad that you brought it up now and to kind of get your perspective on it as a primer. Oh, it's cat chat time.
We got
this
the
is
cat chat. Let's
this is
go.
Mavis. She is sharing my chair and has been all morning.
This
So I am on the last eighth of the chair, and she was happily sleeping behind me, but now she has awakened.
this,
So
this is a good chance to catch up with the chat here. Chat loves cat chat.
Yeah.
Boogie Nights, welcome to the stream. Aries in the house, says Boogie
Yes.
Nights. Linkhold says Big Sean preemptively permabanned. Yes, very good. Denise in the chat, welcome to the show today. Says Aries gets the party started, and Linkhold responded, Aries started literal wars, and Denise responded, fearless exclamation point. So that was a good little. I guess the god Aries did that, or god, or, I don't know, goddess, whoever Aries
Yeah.
is. President
Well,
Linkhold. Oh, go ahead.
go ahead. Well, just the cat's name is Tomatoes.
no, she's Mavis.
Mavis. I
Yeah.
heard tomatoes, and I was like, wait. We can't.
Mavis is a good name for a cat, but we did not.
Well, I was
we
like,
did not get there. Yeah.
it's not tomato, it's tomatoes, plural, which would
Uh-huh.
be so great. But Mavis is such a beautiful cat name. I love that. Okay. Anyway, moving on.
Nerdelt says yes, kitty. Nerdelt, welcome to the stream. Thanks for typing a comment. And Wendy asks, Jake, do you also have rusty ears today?
Maybe I might. Yeah, that's why I couldn't hear some bubbles in the can. But
Oh yeah, yeah.
oh,
That's
and then
fair.
also the tomatoes part. That's more
Right.
more
That's.
relevant.
I think that's.
I have rusty brain today. I tell you what. Oh. Anyway, sorry, Rick. You were saying something about. You had an example. You were excited about something. Very pointedly, you said.
Yeah. No. I think that. And we'll get into this because this is kind of where I want to start the conversation when we come back from the break. But there is a confidence with making the work that you make, and I think it becomes like really evident when people start to look at these photographs, and then you're also like practiced in going to these places, and you do the drone photography professionally, and maybe we should talk about that a bit so we don't continue to reference that without the audience knowing kind of what we're talking about. But you do it professionally, so of course you also have this like understanding of like what's allowed and what isn't allowed, and how to also like look like a professional potentially when you're doing it. Like I don't know if you pull out the high vis in like certain situations that look sketchy, but like that confidence comes from familiarity with the materials. So Aaron, do you want to talk about that, and maybe just talk about what you do for your job and how those things connect with the photography?
Yeah, I mean, I can kind of start with, I mean, yeah, a lot of it kind of flows out of my day job. So I work for St. Louis County Parks Department. I do a number of different things for them. My main job is with GIS, which is Geographic Information Systems. So mapping property boundaries, those sorts of things. So when we moved back here, which was going on about 8 years ago, I took up, that was the first time I got a smartphone. That was what the county gave me, a smartphone. So that was great. And so I was going out to all these parks, getting to learn all of the St. Louis County Parks system. We have 70 parks, like 15,000 acres. Taking pictures with that. started the Instagram account for the parks page, and so that really kind of kicked me off in some ways with photography, or at least supplemented, because I was doing photography stuff outside of that as well. And then yeah, they bought me a drone one day. You know, the story is Creve Coeur Park was flooded, and which it does, and we were unaware exactly how high the water was through there, which maybe isn't that big of a deal, but it's something that's nice to know. You know, it's our property, and you know, we have some areas back there that it would be nice to know if, you know, the shelter was flooded or if our maintenance garage was flooded. We couldn't quite tell that. And somebody posted online a drone image of the park, and our director at the time was like, you know, that's really great. That's really useful to know. Like, why don't we have a drone? So, being the person that was in, like, loosely in the technology sphere within the parks, and being the person that was you know, early 30s at the time, I guess, or under 30 at the time, it fell to me, thankfully, to be like,
young
well,
guy.
Yeah.
Aaron knows how to fly a drone. It's like I don't, but I'm happy to learn. So
There's also some F and G talk too.
yeah, so that's how that's how I got the drone, and started using it for parks purposes. You know, and occasionally I would sneak a couple pictures and stuff. You know, along those same lines, I was in the GIS world. I was looking at aerials all day, and so I started to kind of like just pick out and take snapshots out of these aerials, which is not an uncommon thing. I think there's a handful of artists out there doing that in different ways. So you know, I was kind of working with that, and then the drone kind of came in and supplemented and then altered and you know, kind of transformed some of that. And shortly after getting a drone through the Parks Department, it became evident that I was interested in using the drone for art purposes, or for my own purposes outside of government sanctioned, you know, day job sort of stuff. And so I purchased one of my own, which was a bit of a leap, but I've been happy with it. So does that? I kind of forgot what the original question was.
No,
does that help?
That's what we do at
So-
brunch. Yeah.
so confidence. So we come back to confidence or whatever. Yeah, I mean, part of that confidence comes from the St. Louis County Parks Department having confidence in me. You know,
There you go.
And then they just kind of shoved me out the door and were like, just don't crash the thing. So
Yeah.
and when you have the whole kind of park system to fly the drone and stuff, you know, it helps develop a sort of confidence as well, of like, you can show up in your parks van with you know, your parks hat on, and like nobody can say anything to you, and you can just kind of fly it around and do whatever. So
It's like, why is that parks guy like doing flybys and aerial maneuvers with the drone? Like,
Speed
yeah, well,
runs.
I mean, you're not supposed to. You know, we have a drone policy, and our drone policy is no drones. So
there you
so
go.
the normal public cannot, you know, are not supposed to show up and
Really interesting.
fly their drones in our parks.
I
Yeah,
did not know that.
Yeah, without some sort of permission.
I see.
Interesting.
Well, I think that's a good spot. Oh, more
Back with the
cat
cats.
cam.
That's before the break.
Yeah.
This is Magpie.
Oh. What was that? Potatoes? What'd you say?
She's the original. She's the
The OG.
Yeah.
She gets what she wants.
Well, we're coming up on our first break here. So I think that was a really good spot to kind of tease what we're going to be doing next with getting into the art practice that has emerged from this photographic method. So I'm going to send us off on my screen, and we'll see you two on the other side of the break. Thanks to everyone tuning in so far. Thanks for your messages in chat. We really appreciate when people share their thoughts or jokes or just interact with us as we move through the stream. That's really the reason that it's live. So if you are feeling like you don't know if you should interact, please feel free to. But for those of you lurking out there, you're always welcome to do that. Over the break, if you want to get yourself familiarized with a little bit of Aaron's work, I'm going to drop his Instagram link in the chat here, and you can check it out. And then we will be back in 10 minutes. We'll be back at 11:10 to get into the deep dive on the creative art, photography, and creative writing parts of Aaron's practice. So we will see you all soon. Hey everyone, hope you had a good break. Hope you maybe got a cream cheese blueberry bagel on the break, or a glass of orange juice, um, or maybe you ate like a Twix candy bar. I think any of those things are acceptable things to do at 11 o'clock on a Sunday. You're watching the travel agency, and you're watching our show today, Art Brunch. This actually begins the beginning of the portion of the show that we air on our YouTube page. So if you subscribe to us on YouTube, I'll pop that link into the chat. Then this is the portion of the show that you'll see archived there, aside from the live version, because we want to give people an opportunity to keep up with the art-centered portion of the show. I do want to say hi to New Masses. Thanks for stopping in. I see you over there on YouTube watching, and then you came over here on Twitch. So thanks for hanging out. I look forward to talking with you more. Lee Boyd Artist says, interesting textural abstraction landscapes that the drone pictures create. When you're selecting an image, what is it that you look in the frame? And I'll ask that question to our guest Aaron here in just a moment. So for those of you just tuning in, I want to read Aaron's bio for you. Aaron Owens' work focuses on marginal landscapes and the intersection of human and natural forms. Themes within his artistic practice often touch on questions of surveillance, the splintering of man from nature and popular imagination, and what a holistic approach to modern ecology looks like on the ground and from above. After graduating from Sacramento State with a BS in geography, Aaron began to translate the observational and technical skills essential to the discipline into an artistic practice. His work has been shown at Washington University in St. Louis, the Granite City Arts and Design District, and We Galleries in Hong Kong. His work has appeared in View Magazine, Tube Magazine, The Moonzine, and has been featured in collaboration with music labels Distant Bloom and Dinzu Artifacts. He currently lives and works in St. Louis, Missouri. So I will bring us all back together here. Welcome back. Let's start with the question that we received from Lee Boyd Artist. I'll reiterate it. Interesting textural abstraction landscapes that the drone pictures create. Aaron, when you're selecting an image, what is it that you look for, I think, maybe, in the frame?
Let's see. I mean, there's two factors of selection. One is when you're actually kind of flying the thing. You have the live view, and so that's mostly about place. So it's where you're going, and what you're looking at, and so you get some ideas doing some research previous. So occasionally, you just go on Google Maps or Google Earth or whatever and look at those aerials and be like, there's something there worth checking out. Other times it's just, I happen to be here right now. I got 20 minutes to kill. It's a nice day. The sun's out. Like, let's put the thing up and see what's around. So, so that would be part of the selection process. And then once it's up there, I'm flying all around, looking for those sorts of textures, looking for angles. A lot of it has to do with sun, clouds, shadows, those sorts of things. So, so I'm maneuvering through there, but it's on my iPhone, so I can only see a certain amount. And depending on how the sun's on my iPhone, sometimes I'm kind of flying, not blind, but you can't tell exactly what the exposure is going to look like, because you just have a glare on your phone. So, so then you take it back. I go through a pretty quick editing process. I don't like to do much. I play with some of the levels and stuff. And then that becomes its own sort of selection process through there. So I find that I'm interested in colors, light, texture. That's a pretty generic sort of look for any photography in general. So, but as I'm going through what I did shoot, I'm often drawn to those sorts of abstract places. I still do this, but I definitely went through a phase where it was like, I'm going to take this landscape image and I'm going to throw it into portrait. You're looking straight down,
Mm-hmm.
so you can do that. You can just take the whole image and bring it all around,
I see.
and not have to worry about right side up, essentially. So that's another sort of selection through there.
Cool. Yeah. Awesome. Well, thanks, Lee Boyd Artist, for the question, and thanks, Aaron, for the answer. I think inside of that similar vein, I did want to pull up this, move over to checking out your work in real time here. Let me center this well. So before we were going on the break, we were talking about confidence in drone photography and how certain spaces you have to carry a type of confidence to fly the drone over them. And then this is an example of one of those photos that's turned up into a portrait style, which I think is really fitting given the subject matter of how this kind of acts as a mass portrait of end of life. But the thing that I wanted to present here, starting with your zine year one, or your zine is titled 1 Year. This is the first year, and this is the 4th volume of it, and we're on page 6. But this, I think, is an interesting starting place for us to begin to understand and dissect your work, because when I was reviewing your slides and your zines prior to the show, this is the image that immediately kind of produced this guttural anxiety in me of thinking about you as the photographer, you flying a drone over a cemetery. And maybe that's a place that we can start.
Yeah, I mean, good job on the research, doing the deep dive all the way, all the way into volume 1. So,
We do the work here. We do the work, so you don't have to.
yeah, I mean, I guess so. I mean, I can talk a little bit about the zine process in general.
Yeah, please do.
Maybe not to get too deep into it, but the 1 year title is meant to kind of refer to the cycle of the zine. So it's a monthly zine for 1 year, sort of by volume, and then all the pictures are from 1 year prior, and all the redacted journal entries are from 1 year prior. So I put this volume 1. I would have put the zine together 2019, and these images and words are from 2018.
Mm-hmm.
So it's a way to kind of go back and re-examine. And this particular one, volume 1, I made 10 copies, one for myself, one for the library zine collection here in St. Louis, and then 8 that I delivered to friends around town. So it was, only hard copies. I decided to digitize them probably about a year and a half after they were actually finished, and then gave them the link out to maybe another 10 people, something like that. So limited distribution. So yeah, it's interesting that you picked this photo. I have the same sort of reaction to it.
Mm-hmm.
I don't think it's something that I would necessarily have put up on Instagram. I don't think I did. This is the new St. Marcus Cemetery, I think, just across the river to Pear.
Okay.
So it's one of those instances where I think if you scroll up, that picture at the bottom, I'm pointing like you guys can.
Yeah, this picture here.
That's the river to Pear right there. So the bottom left-hand corner would be the cemetery.
Oh, I see.
And the top right-hand corner would be Wilmore Park.
Okay.
So I'm in Wilmore Park flying the drone. And like I said, it's one of those things where I went out there looking to take a picture of river to Pear, which I go through kind of cycles of being really fascinated by river to Pear by itself. And then suddenly I'm flying over the cemetery as well. So I'm taking pictures there as well, not necessarily intending to. And yeah, I mean, I it's hard to say exactly why I wanted to include the cemetery picture in the zine. I think I felt maybe a little bit more comfortable with a limited audience seeing it because it feels sensitive in a
Hmm.
way. Um, and yeah, it's just but I like it. I like the composition of it. I do like the subject matter of it. But it is something that I want to tread lightly with.
Yeah. Yeah.
And
So
it's
I'm
yeah,
I'm sure that this is really helping. Like the first piece of work that we talk about is this one that you want to tread lightly with. But I think that like a lot of this work hinges here. Like this is like a really amazing jumping off point to start to understand some of the things that you're confronted with when you're making work in this fashion. And like it's not just, oh, that would look cool, like I'm going
Yeah.
to do that. There are these elements, like first of all, like in the side of the nature of flying. So you were saying, and suddenly I'm over the cemetery, which isn't an experience that we have like in our physical bodies, but what I see is like you're doing like a wide loop, to like come back and do something, and then suddenly you find yourself in this cemetery, that it happens much quicker than you can walk there, much quicker than you can be there. So on one side, it does kind of, that thing that you mentioned is a crux of the material. But then also, like, when I see this, I hear the sound of a drone. And I hear that, like, invasive buzzing that I'm like not at all familiar with, and you have much more familiarity with, but that typically to me indicates like all sorts of confusion and anxiety, like what is this person doing? And then to think about having that experience like in a state of grief, which we don't see any people here, but thinking about having that experience in a space of grief, but then also like this photo is like grief in a lot of ways. Like this photo that you made, I think, is made for a good reason, is what it feels like.
Very intentional.
yeah. I mean, I guess this isn't really a term that it's a term that I'm just thinking of right now.
Hmm.
Maybe there's like a certain like subtle confrontation with some of the drone photography.
Mm.
Like it has its own. There's Magpie. Uh, the confrontation maybe comes a little bit afterwards. Like I don't necessarily seek to hit people over the head with things.
Hmm.
Um, yeah, I mean, it's a difficult sort of image to kind of talk about because I definitely
Hmm.
hear what you're saying as far as the sort of invasiveness of the drone is an interesting tool because it has those sorts of elements on top of it which are things that are there but I'm not necessarily inclined to poke at. I think they're there anyway, so there's no like real reason for me to amplify them. So that includes the idea of these surveillance and intrusion,
Mm.
and those elements that are built into our thinking
Hmm.
as far as drones go. Um, I think what's interesting about a lot of the drone photography, and this wouldn't be an exception to that, is we have a certain response to individual and state surveillance
Hmm.
that we don't necessarily have to like corporate surveillance, if that makes sense. So I
Mm.
brought up Google Earth and Google Maps earlier, um, and that's something that I'm interested in whenever it comes to conversations. Is like essentially this image is available to everyone.
Yes.
It's a flat down. I don't typically do any sort of flattening that you would if you were wanting to make a map, but this is one of those images where you could turn it all which way and it would still make sense. And yeah, so that sort of comes into this sort of idea of privacy. Like it's a different thing for me to fly a drone over a cemetery than it is for um, for us to look it up on Google Maps or Google Earth, and
Mhm.
it's an odd sense of privacy or expected privacy to it, that is, I wouldn't say one way or the other, but I think it's definitely worth exploring and thinking about, and hopefully these images have that sort of layering to them.
Yeah. Yeah, and
Um,
that's why I wanted to start with this, is because a lot of these images look there are a lot of images that look fun, that indicate leisure, that indicate industry, that indicate waste. Um, but I think in all of these, it's important for our viewers and viewers of your work to understand this this fundamental question at like the intersection of what you are doing is like these are being taken with these kinds of ideas in question. Like it might be more detached from that when we go to my next slide, which is I'll give you a primer, which this is my next slide that I want to talk about. So like
yeah.
the conversation here doesn't start there because we're like, who are these people that own these land and like who are these people that are tearing this shit up? Like, do we care about this industry? But it is just as potentially illegal, just as potentially invasive. Like the workers who showed up to work there didn't necessarily like want to be photographed or agreed to be videoed that day. But I think that the easiest way that we can access that is through this image, and then hopefully for viewers of the show, you can remember the feeling of this kind of the questions that this image raises as you look through the rest of Aaron's work, because it's married to the work. I think this is just the place that it's most clear. We have another question in chat that I want to share with you, Aaron. Lee Boyd Artist, thanks again for the question. Says the graveyard picture reminds me of Braille, and asks, when you hear people's reaction to your work, do you see elements in your work that you've never noticed?
Uh, yeah, I mean, for sure. Um, I'm I, I'm familiar, or I feel familiar with the sort of technology, the drone stuff, um, and I don't necessarily distinguish it from. I think the term we used the other day was terrestrial
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
photography. Um, but I see, I don't see a whole lot of difference between those and all of it. You know, the terrestrial photography, the drone photography, some of the work that I've used, you know, publicly available aerials
Mm-hmm.
from, all that stuff. Uh, but it becomes more evident whenever I put it out there to people that the drone stuff has a whole other sort of angle to it, that that people bring. Um, that's exciting, and I always enjoy that sort of take on things. But it's not necessarily something that I uh, set out for. Like, yeah, I guess
Mm-hmm.
if that hopefully answers some stuff.
Cool,
Well,
thanks.
I feel like it's an interesting conversation. Like there's truly 20,000 ways for this to go, but something I'm curious about just from the process, like as a fellow photographer myself, like I think about like photography specifically, there's a lot of like when you take pictures of your world, like that's tends to be your subject, is like there's a lot of creative meandering, or I've joked with our good friend Jack Arlen on here about radical meandering, and that like actually meandering in itself is kind of radical, so we don't really need to call it that. On top of that, people talk about this, but um that like a photographer will kind of go through spaces like physically terrestrially and then be like, that's really cool. But then when you're using drone and you know that you're like a drone can capture something similar to that of something like Google Maps or Google Earth, like I'm curious, where does your process of supposed like creative meandering happen? Because like I almost refuse to believe, because then that just you're just too genius for me to deal with, that like you just knew that this would be a good picture. Like there has to be some sort of accident. You can't just be I
Well, I mean,
refuse.
yeah,
No, but
it's all accident.
okay.
I mean, so oddly, I mean, I see a lot of connection between the cemetery and these pictures.
Mm,
Like, so the story for both of these, I was in Wilmore Park looking at the river to pair. Ended up taking a handful of pictures of the cemetery. Um, these I was along the Missouri River, if I'm not mistaken. I was along the Missouri River, and this was a quarry in St. Charles County that um, I didn't know was there,
Hmm.
until I put the drone up, and I like, the drone has its little, the camera on its gimbal. You go down and up. That's the extent of what you can move the camera.
Hmm.
Um, and so I'm looking down, I'm flying around the river and stuff like that, and then like I bring the camera up, and I'm just like, oh shit, there's a quarry on the other side here. So that's how these happened.
Wow.
Uh, and they both exist on this sort of edge space. So
Hmm.
Missouri, or sorry, St. Louis. We are this river town, and what that essentially means is we have our industry and our sort of our zoning along our rivers are not for like uh, people, or at least not like alive, moving people. So there's a reason why New St. Marcus is where it's at by the river to Pear. There's a whole history in St. Louis of um, uninterring. Is that the moving dead folks?
Okay.
Out of the city into
Oh, okay.
new cemeteries. So around the city, there's you know St. Charles Rock Road is a good example. There's three or four of those big cemeteries up there, along kind of the ring of St. Louis City and those inner suburbs. And a lot of those cemeteries hold folks that were buried in the city, and they moved them because they needed that land for the living. Um, so what we do on those sorts of edge spaces, I think, is telling about the general society, and so that's the link I would bring up between the cemetery and these sorts of extraction photos.
Hmm.
Is kind of their placement, the general happenstance as far as my personal story goes with them. Um, and then of course there is that sort of difference between organizations. So um, these photos are a more they're still very human in their organization, but they feel organic in the sense of like angle of repose, so piles and how material interacts with itself, and gravity,
Hmm.
whereas the cemetery is obviously a very right angle driven sort of organization, which is always human. Anytime you see right angles, everybody knows that it's human. When it comes to more rounded and stuff like that, we associate that with an organic form. So
Yeah, the thing that comes up for me is this process of digging and burying for sure. The difference between unearthing something and then by like putting these things back into the ground. Um, and then also there's something about how like the process of digging, the process of like unearthing or gathering materials. Yes, there is a right angle in these machines, but the they're not putting those materials right into train cars, and like there's a reason for that. So to successfully and with efficiency like render these products out of the earth, I have this idea that these tools have to work like more natural tools. They have to just break shit and be big and like move dirt in whichever way like dirt wants to move, right? And then there's certain ideas about how the more natural these digging processes get, even though they become more technological simultaneously, the more efficient that they become. And then they create these like subsets of um, something in between. Like, what are these sand dunes? Like it's something in between nature and human. So on one hand, you have the like very human and the very nature, the digging and the burying, but then you also in your work explore the like erosion as kind of like a middle space between those. as well, which I don't think I have actually a slide for erosion, but it's something that I'm sure that we will find rather easily in your work. But that erosion kind of acts as that middle space there too. Um, I do have a couple. The next thing that I want to bring up is give me just a second here while I navigate to it. Um,
We were radically meandering there, Rick. You did it. You got to erosion. It made sense. Really brought it full circle.
so
Um,
I'm moving over to year two, but yeah, go ahead, Jake.
well, and just to kind of like, I'm just strictly very curious. Like, I feel like we answered it, but I'm just curious too. Like, in a very like point blank sort of way. Like, do you use Google Maps or any of these things as ways to find locations, or is it more just like that seems like a cool area, like in your head, and then you just go there and figure it out? Or is it like, I imagine your job clearly has like gotten you to places where you're like, actually, I need to come back here on my own time. Because I love
Yeah.
the feeling of like you could be sitting in the comfort of your home and just finding these places, but knowing that like it ain't been taken a picture of properly until I show up. You know what I mean? Like the joy that you could open up your freedom space to go find cool locations to your computer feels very amazing as a photographer to me as an idea.
Yeah, no, I mean that's definitely part of it. I mean, so the first scene is like I said, the first zine that I put together, that first volume, um, those images that we just looked at were, I got the drone maybe that January, so that whole sort of late winter, spring air time was, I was really active.
Yeah.
Any excuse I could to fly the thing. So it is, it's hard to say exactly. Now my process is probably different. At that time, it was there was definitely this opening up uh, Google or in my day job, with GIS, just looking at our aerials that we have for the county and the surrounding area, and just being like, I need to go see that. Like, and quarries are an obvious one. I mean, if you look at the big quarries around town, like if you're looking at just an aerial of St. Louis City and St. Louis County, like immediately you're going to see the quarries because they're these bright white limestone blots, like little like paint blots type of thing
Yeah.
on the map. And so immediately you're just like, what is that? Like I gotta go see it. And there's such huge spaces that they just respond really well to drones. I mean, and then the other part of that is that I should mention is um, the drone has its own sort of limits, and luckily my interests coincide with a lot of the places that are suitable for drone stuff. But like, you're not doing like street photography downtown with a drone,
Yeah.
and like I don't fly the drone over people. I do my best not to fly the drone over, residences and like look at people's backyards and that sort of stuff. Um, Not that I wouldn't necessarily be interested in stuff like that. It just doesn't feel,
Yeah.
proper. Um, like the idea of getting like winter pools or something like that in people's
Totally.
backyards would be like great photos. But
Hmm.
like, I'm not gonna fly the drone over and in people's backyards. Even
Yeah.
it's just not something I'm gonna do. Um, so yeah, some of it is just looking at Google. Other parts are these are the sorts of zones that I have access to and that I'm
Hmm.
interested in, and so I'll just you know some of it's about being on site and being able to find a place to park and being inconspicuous to fly the thing. So I have my areas that I feel safe in to fly it, um, and it's really kind of a mix of those. Where I'm at right now is I probably have more sites that I am interested in documenting over time and that I've become familiar with. so it's a little bit less of let's find new places, and it's more about let's go back to these places and see what's happening. So uh, yeah. Anyway, there's definitely a mix as far as that goes. Sometimes it's just I need to fly the drone. Like I haven't flown the drone in a month. Like let's go get some
Yeah,
pictures. Like
let's just figure something out.
and you know I'll somewhere in there I'll make a decision as to where to go. So.
Mm.
Absolutely.
Yeah, good. I think in the chat, a couple of our viewers say that this feels like fourth wall breaking, like this drone photography feels like very present, like this is something that could be, a live feed, right now. Like this is transporting us to these different spaces, and I think that's something that's unique to the aerial photography, because like we don't think of these terrestrial photos as necessarily like the same kind of like video feed. Maybe because we're more familiarized with them, or the amount of human scaled perspective oriented photographs that we see is so high that we have like more nuanced understandings of that. Something that we are touching on that I want to try to clarify with this set of images. So you also take these terrestrial photographs, and for me, I feel that this set of images illustrates an interesting point. And the interesting point is how you can know exactly where something is versus how you can know generally where something like this is. Uh, Rejon Proto, thanks for the follow. Thanks for following us. So in this image, the bottom slide, I feel like I know exactly where that is. Like, that's like Forest Park Parkway.
Totally. Is
And
that right?
so that is like a series of buildings that I've seen, and I think I would bet I would bet between $5 and $50 that that's where that is. Um,
Ooh. I mean, I'll take that bet.
I'm sure you would.
that bodes poorly for what I was thinking then. Then in the top image, you're photographing this truck yard, that like I don't know which one that is or where that is, but I know where I could tell you could find one. You could find one, not that one, but you could find one, right? You go up to Riverview and drive from the new zoo all the way down Riverview until it turns into Hall, and like you're bound to find one of these things. But also you're not going to find anywhere along Riverview that bottom photo. Like again, I think I know where it is, but whatever, I guess I don't. So there's this difference between like in these two photos, like site specificity, and how for people who like if you have a very accurate sense of where one of these random kind of obscure organizations of materials is, and then you have a general sense of where a truck bay could potentially be.
Yeah. So to get, I guess what I'll start with as I'm stumbling is you're right. You're actually reversed. So you know exactly where the trucks are, and you're a little bit off on the bottom picture.
Oh wow.
So yeah,
How about that? Yeah.
the top one's Hall Street, and the bottom one is that you're really close. It's at 44 and Jefferson. That's the backside of those Lafayette
Oh.
deal.
Damn.
So like that intersection of 55, 44 there.
What are the odds?
So yeah, I
Those-
mean, it definitely, it feels the bottom one. I get what you're saying though. Like the bottom one feels specific and also in a way like I know this place. I know these. I've been here before. That sort of thing. And the top one feels a little bit more kind of generic or like placed, like something that could be kind of picked up and put down anywhere. Is that kind of what you're pointing towards?
Yeah, for sure. And I think that there's That's something that you explore in your work and is executed really well here. So well so that like it has the opportunity to flip, right? Which we just illustrated.
Well,
Yeah, I mean these are so I mean the photos are interesting. You know, these particular ones are interesting. That I really got in the habit of just taking my camera with me
Hmm.
everywhere. You know, it's just you can't take pictures without having the camera with you. So um, I still do this, but I went through a phase where you know these are all taken outside with my passenger window down and me reaching across the passenger seat, just like like it is like you know playing with shutter speed so that I can manage to keep the blur down and stuff,
Mm.
or increase the blur if I want to. Um, so they're to me they're a lot about just you know in the context of the zine especially sort of documenting of how did I get from one place to the other, and like a little bit of shedding light on my general sort of day and interactions and where life takes me. Um, and yeah, composition wise, I think they both they speak to different sort of interests of mine. You know, one is that Hall Street corridor, which is kind of endlessly fascinating
Hmm.
to me because there's just it's really kind of the guts of St. Louis.
totally.
There's just so much sort of action and stuff that is necessary for the city to function that we don't want to think about, and it all just gets placed there.
Junkyard, jail, truck stop.
Yeah, I mean, there's you know, there's the giant coal depot. Whenever you get off, is that it's not Salisbury, it's the other one, Adeline or Adelaide or
Adelaide.
Adeline.
Yeah,
Um,
Adelaide.
you know, there's that giant coal depot. There's the workhouse that's down on the street there.
Yep.
There's all the there's like a mulch depot. There's the giant shingle mountain of recycled stuff. Um, but anyway, I mean, like all that stuff is necessary for St. Louis to function. And as far as our sort of tax base is concerned,
Hmm.
um, you know, the big players in St. Louis are nonprofits, so they're not paying property taxes and stuff. These are the type of places that are a huge part of our tax base still. So
Mm.
you know, and it's that riverfront sort of mentality that carries over from the original sort of white settlement of the area. So there's just a ton of layers to it. And so any chance I can to drive on Hall Street, I like to take that route just to kind of see what's happening and throw my camera out the window to see what I can get. Uh, you know, so
I agree.
anyway,
That
you
is
know,
that's a road that I take to go to my dad's house when I drive to my
oh
dad's
yeah,
house. So I have like a kinship with that too. Ty Matthews, thanks for the follow. Rejon Proto, I'm not sure what the link is. I permitted you to post links, so I will check that out in a little bit. So I want to give you space to finish that. Sorry to cut you off if I did.
no, I mean, I think I was on a bit of a ramble. So, you know, these things come back to that sort of geography background
Hmm.
of mine. So, like, uh, going through those places tells you things about where you're at and the city and the people and the interaction of the people and the land. Um, and so, you know, both these photos and the majority of photos that I take are a sort of exploration of that, if nothing else, just myself trying to make sense of where the hell I'm at.
Mm.
you know,
Totally.
and the photos are nice because you can go back to them and start picking them apart. Uh, but it's a general mindset of getting to those places to take those photos that are equal amounts of that as well. So,
It's
See.
as far as familiarity goes, like if was to expand on that layer a little bit more, but like even those particular photos that we had up, uh, I started to actually kind of look at them as if they were drone photos, sort of. And it's interesting to think like if whatever your perspective is, you know, you're just looking out the window at these buildings on the side of a highway, that if you were to pretend it was this looking down, that you kind of see these recurring themes that not only just from above but from the side, and that really you can kind of create these new planes in that way. But even if it's from above, from the side, gets confusing, but it does feel familiar at the
Hmm.
same time. And I think that it's interesting too to revisit those spaces too, when even some of them are as a snapshot, literally from out the window of a car, or to like a very like calculated, meaning very like very intentioned photo from a drone, which is to say like, am I abiding by laws? Am I abiding by, making sure people's privacy and stuff like that? So I feel like mentally it feels that, but I also feel like like create like just physically the material like that you're posting kind of has sharing. I don't want to say posting. That like has this space of like where like all lines are being blurred, across memory, across forms, across subject matter, across plane, like where you are physically on the earth almost.
Yeah, I get in trouble when I say this before. Um, like and I tend to believe it. I get people's hesitation when I say something like this, but I generally tend to fall into the camp of like things just kind of are like like some
Yeah.
things just are, like
Yes.
they just exist and they're there. And I think that shines through a lot. I don't know if shines through, but comes through or reads in a lot of my photography. And probably why I'm drawn to photography and drone stuff is it doesn't feel like I realize that there's a process and like you are making the photo in a sense or whatever. But for me, like the excitement of it is like these places just are like this, like these, like the pool just is,
Hmm.
like, and I'm not doing anything, like anything to alter that. And I feel the same way, especially when I'm doing like the drive-by sort of photography or whatever. Like these places just are, and I'm just being a witness to it. Um, and like I said, there's definitely some arguments around that sort of mentality and things. And I don't mean to take away from like the idea of making and the idea of the artist bringing things to that. But like I said, that's just kind of my sort of gut. What I go on as far as photography goes is like,
Hmm.
um,
Yeah, I want to jump in there and say that from my perspective, I think it's good to hold space for both people who are in like evidence. There's this interesting juxtaposition between process-oriented work and evidence-based work. So people who are in the acts of creating to produce a product, and those people who are engaged in acts of creating because this act of creating satisfies some deep itch, and then products like arise out of the nature of scratching that itch. Um, and here, I think as we've illustrated throughout this, a large part of your creative practice is traveling, is wink wink, is moving to these spaces that you're discovering, that you're finding. It's the creative process is having open eyes, and these products in some ways become evidence of your work, evidence of that work that you're doing, and might not even be potentially like the core of what your creative practice is. And for other people, it's much more product focused. And like you said, like there's space for those creators too, who are making things that are new, versus people who are having experiences that are new and are receiving evidences from those experiences.
yeah, yeah, absolutely.
I
Well,
love
and
these pool photos though.
I do.
Yeah,
Yeah.
Jake.
Well, it feels. I mean, you're a geographer for God's sake. Like
Yeah.
you're like. I feel like the mission is like if geography was like to be broken down to a sentence, it'd be like, how do it be?
Hmm.
And then you're there to be like, it do be this
It'd be
way.
like this.
like like I feel like you're like perfectly marrying that because you're just like, here's what it is, but then here's how I also want to show you. how it
Hmm.
is, you know? And I feel like there's a lot of conversation, especially in like the political world, of like the idea of like a good faith or a bad faith argument or good faith like
Mm.
use of certain things. And I feel like it feels very unsinister the way you're using a drone, in my
Hmm.
opinion. And I don't mean to qualify the work whatsoever, but I feel like that's what gives it a lot of beauty, and that like these pool images specifically too, which I am totally over the moon over too, of like it's like 20 things at once, because it just is that. It is what it is, you know,
Hmm.
and people are able to get out of that what they need to.
And yeah, I think that's good. I think it's good to recognize kind of again where these things are springing from. Like where is the spring of creativity? And that like really kind of fills up this body of work. First of all, there are no people here, right? Which we return to that idea of surveillance of like very quickly creepy, right? Like very quickly, not something that you would do. But this is from volume 8, so this is August, and then you know it brings up questions for me that are like, why aren't there people in the pool? And then it's either like there's some cholera breakout that's taking place that I didn't hear about in the news, or it's early in the morning. It doesn't seem like it can be late in the evening. But then this is also indicating where I kind of want to take us, where I kind of want to leave us off before our next break, is ideas of leisure and how this creative practice for you also feels like a leisure practice. That like you are doing this as a method of working, but it seems like you're enjoying it.
Yeah, so I mean, so this would fall into the camp of like me sort of the overlap between like my day job and art practice.
Hmm.
So um, this was a project that I was given. It was a different project at this site to do things, and then it's like, well, I'm going to take pictures while while I'm there.
Yeah.
I'm gonna use my like I don't smoke cigarettes, so I'm going to use my 15-minute smoke break to like fly my own drone.
Yeah.
So um, yeah, there's I think that's part of why I landed on maybe not landed on, but why the zine sort of concept works for me is I kind of struggle to tie it all together in a sort of um, a typical sort of like curated fashion. I've tried to organize images in themes of extraction and erosion and those sorts of ideas, and I feel like they always kind of come up short. And the zine is helpful because it just gives me a nice sort of framework to put things in. So
Mm.
it makes sense within the zine to have this pool images next to terrestrial images of a junkyard next to a quarry images, because that's just what I did. That's just that's just my life.
It's
Yeah.
how it do be.
So I can the chronological order of it gives me this excuse to juxtapose things, because that's just the general flow of life for me.
And you got these
Um,
pool blues, starting to sneak in the junkyard, and then
yeah, and
boom,
there's this
connection.
obvious the other part of the zine stuff is it's all about my own sort of the chronological nature of it gives it a certain excuse, but it's heavy on editing,
Hmm.
so and that's obvious, like when you look at it. It's a way to reassess and edit and pair. So um, so I can move past what the images are and start playing with which ones do I actually enjoy the most, which ones actually play off each other well, and those sorts of things, as opposed to like getting caught up in the deeper nature of them. So um,
That distance
yeah,
is nice.
yeah. So a lot of the zine stuff was kind of a reaction to the Instagram, the Insta part of the Instagram. So um, I had my love affair with social media, um, and then the zine was kind of like a way to see if I could get that sort of dopamine uh, from other
The
means,
feedback loop.
So, and not to take, Instagram provides a certain thing that,
Oh
and
yeah.
social media in general provides a certain thing that is, is useful and is pleasurable and stuff. But I'd say the zine was a nice way to sort of remind myself that it doesn't need to be immediate. Like I can take time, and there's very positive things that come from distance and reassessing and change and all those things as well. So
Great. Well, I think that's a good place to take a brief break. So we're going on our second break here for the show, and I do want to get into kind of like the instantaneousness. I have some rant cooking up inside of me about hashtag latergram that I think is like a really silly thing that we used to do. But we'll get back into it. So say goodbye to our friends for now, and say hello to me. Thanks everyone for tuning in, all the new followers, people being active in the chat. Now's a good time for you to, across the break, post some questions that you have for Aaron, some things that you want to hear him respond directly to, and we'll be able to intersperse those through the final half of the conversation. Thank you all for listening. I appreciate these moments in the chat. You all are always welcome to speak up, but I also know sometimes it feels good just to listen. So feel free to always lurk. But also, please, now's a good time to start asking questions for Aaron that we'll get to when we get back from our break. We're going to take a quick 10-minute break, and we'll be back here at about 12:11. If you need something to do in the meantime, you can do us a favor and subscribe to our YouTube channel. It's something that holds the archives of these talks for later, and something that I'm working to make a really good resource to categorize all of this information that we are creating with our wonderful guests to support the legacy of the work that they do. If you're interested in checking out Aaron's Instagram, give him a follow over there because he'll know you followed because you're watching the show today, and that'll make him feel good about us. So just go shoot him a follow. You really won't regret it, and we'll see you back here around 12:12. Maybe, if I know which button to hit. Thanks again. Hello, everyone. We're back. And, I think that second break for our viewers is a good opportunity to get like another cup of coffee, to recaffeinate. Um, because usually like between 12 and 2 is when I decide if I'm having more coffee or if I'm going to not have any more coffee that day. So I hope you got some coffee. If not, I hope you're staying hydrated. We're getting back into this conversation that we have with Aaron. The thing that keeps happening in my mind is Aaron's name is Aaron Owens, and then his Instagram is Owens Aaron. And every time I say Aaron, even though I know that's his name, I really have to wonder if his name is Owen. So
Rick, I'm gonna jump in there and say I have the same issue.
Yeah, you're not the only ones. Yeah. So,
So you've been greeted as, "Hey Owens, what's up, man?" Or "What's up,
Oh, yeah,
Owen?" Yeah,
yeah, yeah. I realize a bit with regret about the name, but it's something I've stuck with. So there's like there's no going back now.
no, for sure.
I mean, there is. It can be done very easily, but
It's a good shtick. It's a good thing. It's a good
could do
vibe.
it if we wanted to. New masses, thanks for the follow. I'm not sure what's happening with my follower alerts today. So
They're not pop. Oh, there we go.
yeah, there's one, but that's just like no one actually donated.
Oh,
Don't get
okay.
excited.
It's like, wow, John coming through.
No, I was just testing it. I don't know what's going on with the alerts today.
That's the only way we get money is if it's a test. Wow, Rick. Cool.
Yeah.
Good to know.
But yes, again, new masses, thanks for following. Definitely want to shout you out. Appreciate that. So we're gonna hop back into it here. The thing that I think we kind of left off talking about leisure and talking about kind of how this process presides your honorable presidement. How
Court.
yeah, art court, that's our new show. Where like we have a plaintiff and a defendant, obviously, and the person is like suing the other person for like biting their style, right?
Yeah.
And then we're art court,
Yeah.
where we preside over that, and we have a comically oversized gavel that we bang on various things as a
well, and
brand
everybody's
element.
guilty.
Yeah,
Oh.
true.
There,
Whoa.
that's the
That's the
That's
tagline.
the whole catch of it all. It's like you're never innocent. You're
Uh-huh.
always guilty. So
no, that's good. Yeah, maybe Owens Aaron should be the maybe it's the Honorable Owens Aaron who's presiding over art court.
There we go.
That can be your show on the travel
it
agency.
sounds like a pretty easy gig.
Exactly. Well, I've considered the evidence, and yes.
Yeah, you're definitely guilty. Yeah.
Just like every episode. Exactly.
Okay. I mean, there's a lot of money to be made in judge shows.
Mm-hmm.
That much
Yeah.
is true.
That's
So
why they present.
somebody was I was listening to this this show that my friend Moira Smith sent me called like Random Tape. It's like a show podcast on Spotify. People might like that. But in one of the random tapes, somebody was talking about how they did something, they destroyed somebody's property or whatever, and they ended up on Judge Judy.
Hmm.
But like, that leads me to believe that you don't just end up on Judge Judy.
Yeah.
Like you did that, and then somehow, like, how does it even go? Like the person's like, this is a Judge Judy crime. Let me submit it before I actually sue them to see if it's gonna like be a good case. And then not only are you getting sued, but you also are like getting sued in Judge Judy's court. Really kind of strange. I don't know how that works. I just thought it
There's
was
a
all
lot there.
fake, but
A lot to uncover, for sure.
anyways, maybe I'm off topic.
Well, I mean, these are the things that we need to know if we're going to move forward with
Yeah.
art court. So
Oh,
this
yeah.
is like research 101. So
I think
We're all about research here.
yeah, for those of you who know Judge Judith Scheindland, please shoot us a DM. Let's move over here to the first volume of the third volume. See, I the terminology, I've messed it up. So this is year 3 or volume 3, and inside of that it's number 1. So this is the most recent, 7 days recent maybe, or 38 days recent iteration of the zine here. And I guess I'm curious, uh, kind of how you're feeling about this, because this is so much closer in proximity than the other ones, but still is a year and a month or prior, right?
Yeah. So I mean, it's been kind of a whole journey through these things. Like I said, the first one was very sort of uh, low key, trying to find a sort of footing, um, something I had never done or experienced or experimented with before. So um, at the end of that, I was having some difficulty figuring out how to get it printed. Um, had a couple frustrations as far as logistics stuff goes. And I was like, I don't know if I'm gonna bother with doing it again. The idea of having something called 1 Year Volume Two did have an appeal, um, just for the silliness of it,
Mm.
and so and then I had I had good friends that one in particular that I was delivering it to that kind of wouldn't allow me to stop. So
Okay.
and I think I was getting stuff out of it. I was getting a lot out of it actually, and it's been really a fun and useful thing for me to compile each month. So generally I get it together. I try not to start on it until about halfway through each month to give like that full sort of year
Okay.
distance. It feels a bit like cheating if I were to start it like at the first of the month and start going through. So I've yet to start on my February stuff. I'll probably open that up here next week and start piecing through what all I did last year, last February, um, and start kind of going through. So yeah, and then this volume three is even more a next sort of level or step forward or step in some direction. And that is the first one that I've really kind of gone public with.
Mm.
The other ones were all pretty much, invite only. Not really invite, just me like dumping my issues on you, like whether you want it or not. So, um, like literally at your doorstep, me just kind of delivering this odd pamphlet of my inner thoughts
Hmm.
for you to like uh, go through at your leisure. Um, and so, I mean, essentially, so this last round, I made it more of a point to once I had them digitized to give them out to a broader audience. And Jake was on that sort of list because Jake's always been um, appreciative of my work and has been friendly, and I thought he might enjoy them. And so he quickly asked me if I wanted to be on the show, and I said yes. And then it dawned on me shortly after that I was like, well, it wouldn't make much sense for me to be on here with like talking about things that no one else like gets to see. So maybe it was some sort of subconscious way of me being like, well, let's take the next step of like introducing the larger public to this project. And this year is going to be special because it's starting off with me reviewing the year 2020,
Hmm.
which I think will be of interest for me to go through. Um,
Yeah, to jump in there, the thing that I immediately feel is that, like, the first of all, the question, I think it begs the question, why aren't these made? Like, why are these a year behind, right? And I think that to answer that question, we can use this example of what is going to take place this year with the project, of uh, describing your experiences through all of the events of last year. A few come to mind, honestly, at this point. But all of these events, and if you were writing these journals and if you were taking these photographs as something to share to like document that month at the end of that month, I have to believe that the work that you would make would be much less authentic, and that like you would have certain responsibilities to like speak more about like motivating people to be happy, or to like be sharing things that add positivity to the situation rather than creating this authentic view of like what your internal space is. So for me, this is a good indicator as to like the power of that year difference, and I'll be interested to see how you experience that space, because I'm sure the tendency is still like, well, a year from now I want people to know this, or a year from now I want people to feel this, but it feels more
Yeah,
authentic.
yeah. I mean, the words are definitely, they've probably become an increasing part of uh, the zines, and it's partly at least intentional in that that so the first year that I put them together, I was dealing um, with past material that was written without the expectation of being used in any way.
Hmm.
Uh, so there's a bit more rawness of them. I find that they're a less probably more uneven in a way. Like I felt bad kind of giving them to some people, and when they read through them, they're like, "Oh man, like Aaron's in a bad place," because like the only time I would bother to write in a journal was when I would felt like I needed to write in a journal, and like get sort of emotions out in a constructive way. And that starts to change a little bit in um, in a way that I've enjoyed, in that it becomes a practice to write now. So it feels a sort of responsibility. So the the words that I'm working with here in volume 3, I'm journaling, and I'm being honest with myself at the time, uh, but there's also this sort of responsibility to my future self next year to have material to work with.
Mm.
Um, and then it becomes, I think what's been interesting as well is the words themselves become, with that distance from a year's distance, it gives me a sort of it's not objective, but they become a sort of raw material. The feel of them become much less personal. So I think you're right, as far as if I was trying to write this and publish it immediately, um, they would be a much different thing than whenever I have a year removed to be like, that was a different person that wrote those,
Hmm.
and I can just like chop them up to make them be um, how I feel now, and there's this sort of weird overlap between persons. So so yeah, this year is going to be interesting. I mean, to be honest, it's going to be. I think people might be a little bit disappointed in my take on 2020 because you know
It's on brand for
it's
2020, so
yeah
you're working within the
yeah. I
right
mean, it's
materials.
Yeah.
it's like there's been a lot of suffering around this whole thing, and I feel really guilty for like how lucky I have been throughout the whole process,
Hmm.
and how kind of like I'm introverted by nature, and so a lot of the things that people have had to deal with, that have been causes of real pain and suffering for people, have been in a sense like a relief for me to live this sort of way. That's not 100% always, but
Yeah.
the role that I found myself falling into of routine, being at home, uh, offered their own sorts of pleasures. So that comes through as well in those journals. It's a lot of me just like looking out the window and like describing squirrels
Yeah.
or something, that sort of thing.
That's
So
good. You couldn't
it's going
publish
to be
that in
interesting.
February. I couldn't publish that in April of last year.
Yeah. So
Like, if you're worried about COVID, spend some time looking out your window with squirrels. It's not a good look. It's like but also I think that like I think that it's super valid and really good to have these conversations, because I know Jake and I have talked about this. We feel incredibly fortunate and lucky to. I mean, it's definitely an indication of our privilege, and a good opportunity to share wealth and be mindful of people who don't have the same choices that we have. Grocery workers and fast
yeah.
food restaurants employees, and showing that love when we can, I think was really good. And then also, this is just how I'm feeling right now. Like, I'm also introverted in a lot of ways, and public life and like what was required of me to be a human in the art world, or in the professional world was like damaging to me. It's like always, constantly damaging to me. Like I just am not built for that. And I was able to heal a lot of social wounds through this time with this opportunity that none of us could have predicted. So I think for other people, the opposite is true. But for me, that was my experiences. There was a lot of time to heal social wounds last year.
Definitely. Well, and I'm just curious, like Aaron, so like you call these redacted journals,
Yeah.
and I think like it's interesting to me that like a journal as itself is kind of like the most open-ended thing in the world in a way, but I also feel like leave it to the guy that works for the government to have redacted uh redacted information put but I also think like what it does for me to read it and what it sees like when I think about artists, and actually I'll use this opportunity to get on Rick about it. I did a studio visit with him in his home space, and I was like, dude, I just feel like have you written about your material? Like have you written about what you're doing? And he kind of just looked at me like I was a jerk. Like it was sort of this like I'm not like it's not that like I feel like Rick like you didn't say like you weren't there yet, bro, but it was more just like I'm still in the like you're still in it. You know what I mean?
Hmm.
And Rick, this is a separate conversation. We'll get into it. But I just feel like that like there's not a lot of artists that even like to write either even to write in general, B write about maybe their own art or even C write adjacently to their own art.
Hmm.
And so I'm curious like what have the journals felt like once that was like especially the first time you did it compared to now? Like what has it felt like to have like your own writing and clearly being paralleled with the work of that time?
Yeah, I mean, so contrary to maybe my like verbose self on Art Brunch, I don't talk very much. Like
Hey
I'm a
man, you're
pretty
crazy
reserved.
over here.
Yeah, I mean, I'm a pretty reserved person, especially like in groups. One on one, you can kind of get me going, but like group situations, I tend to sit back and listen. And that's just kind of my general nature. And a lot of the impulse for the zine, I feel like I'm given probably like 5 or 6 different creation stories of this zine stuff, but
Good.
at least at least one of the impulses was to just share with people that I knew but I didn't necessarily think knew me as well as I could let them, I
Mm,
guess. And
Mm.
so allowing myself to be vulnerable to friends was a part of this. And those journals are part of that as well. But like I said, with the idea of dropping off this like manuscript of inner thoughts to people that didn't necessarily ask for them, I thought the least I could do was like try to remove the worst bits, like the most boring parts. Like, I didn't want to have to make people sit through the whole sort of journal.
mm,
And the editing part, maybe not at the beginning, but it has become an important aspect of it. The way you can play with the removal and the sort of erasure and sort of uh, imposing your current self on your past self in ways has become a sort of aspect that is fun to play with, and I think important to the aspect of the work. Um, and this past year, the first year too, I was maybe a little bit hesitant to get too much into it. I still am pretty reserved with the editing, but the volume 2 and volume 3, I started going through the process with the photos as well. So volume 1 was all the original photos as I kind of developed
Mm.
them. Um, and because the printing for volume 2 was black and white, I found that I had to go back through my photos, and specifically develop them as black and white photos, and not let not let the Xerox do it for me. That's a good way to just like ruin a photo. So,
Yeah.
uh, and what was encouraging about that was maybe not encouraging, but what was nice about that too was it added another layer of that editing where I was going back through the raw images, finding ones that I had overlooked, finding ways that my tastes or you know yeah, my tastes had kind of changed over the last year. Photos that I might have dismissed a year ago now spoke to me in a different way.
Mm-hmm.
Different angles of the drone work or different areas I was at. Um, Maybe being a little bit more open to a certain mundane or blandness, initial mundane or blandness of the photo, now kind of had more interest to me. Those sorts of things.
Definitely.
So yeah, it's I forget exactly where we got started on this.
Well,
Yeah.
well, and just the word, like the idea of the redacted journal to me,
Yeah.
I'm like thinking of like 6 different ways to kind of reshape it again to the photo work itself, because it's like this is the journal itself, and then you reshaping it or redacting it and making it art is in a way exactly what I feel like even this image right here. It's like this is the image of this land, but now you are framing it to make it art now. It is, so there's sort of like a part and parcel to not just your words, which then naturally makes new forms, just like it does in your words. Like you're physically the way you remove the stuff, which I personally really like, because I feel like you're not crossing them out like, like like a government document, like you're just removing them. It's just actually redacted, and that creates a new form. And there's beautiful lines that you're manufacturing through these things just because of what happened. I imagine, so that's like deeply personal lines or lines you just don't feel need to be shared or removed typically.
Uh, the lines that get removed are the most boring bits.
Okay.
Normally.
So like social security numbers and stuff are
Yeah.
removed, and things like that.
Yeah, they're generally like what I ate this morning, or
Gotcha.
those sorts of like just filler sort of things.
Pet name,
Or like
where you went to high school, and your mother's maiden name. That's all we
Yeah.
need.
yeah, exactly.
Uh,
Yeah, I mean it's interesting as far as the redacting stuff goes. I mean it's I don't think there's a whole lot of difference as far as the way I approach most sorts of art stuff, with whether it's photos or the words and things like it's framing is important obviously, and a lot of it comes down to just a certain like feel for what you're doing, and like a feel most importantly of where to stop. Um,
mhm.
I think
Living
it's kind of
limits,
like
yeah.
that. Like I don't know, maybe less so with pictures, but I mean the picture stuff. I guess it would be framed more like knowing like what's enough in the
Mhm.
picture, and like not pushing too far, like not trying to juice it up, or like not looking for that sort of like National Geographic sort of like picture I've seen 1,000 times,
Oh,
and knowing like I like
herds of
this and like
wildebeest.
trusting that sort of thing. So
Totally.
The thing that comes up for me there is a conversation, funnily enough, that I don't think we have enough time for, but is this idea of fidelity, and we spoke about this briefly, but uh, the what I'm seeing with these journals is like what is the level of detail, like what is the level of fidelity that's appropriate, and we connect this to the idea of like drone being ultra high fidelity, but also like very limited in scope compared to like a satellite photograph or an aerial plane photographing. And then that plays into this kind of like social aspect of this project that you're talking about, is like this was a way for me to like give personality, give love and caring fidelity to people that have like expressed interest in it, and I just didn't quite know like which level of me they really wanted. So I'm giving them like the next level of my fidelity, which is these writings and these pictures, and I'm doing it with intimacy so they know like I love them too. And I think that that's like really sweet, and in our most intimate relationships, we have the most like intimate granular fidelities that sound boring and don't make sense to anybody. But yeah, like the closer you get with somebody, the more you want to be seen in high definition.
Yeah, I mean, like there's definitely like so I mean, my hesitation, I might speak a little bit to my hesitation with sharing widely.
Yeah.
Like I hope that they maintain this. I mean, I don't. I think if they lose this, then I probably hopefully I'll stop making them. But right now they're made with a sense of sort of well, I mean, like a sense of love
Yeah.
in that way. Like it's a sense of sharing and vulnerability and trying to be known in a way to people that I care about. And hopefully that I mean it's yet to be seen whether that translates to people that don't actually know me,
Hmm.
and don't actually whether it's actually translatable to people that I've never met before. So that's something that's scary, but also a sort of exciting bit from allowing a wider audience to see it. Whether they've actually
Yeah.
seen it or not, I'm not sure. But
Well, that is a huge part, I think, of the artist's way, and something that I know we talk about on Art Brunch, and something that comes up all the time is like people won't love you if you don't provide avenues for them to. But like it is like a really intimate and kind of raw process of like, okay, yeah, I guess nobody does like me, and it probably will feel like that for a long time, because these things take time. Like the photographs are such good entry, gateway drugs to you, and then now to know that like if you want more, it's no longer too bad. It's if you want more, like this is the more that I'm willing to give.
yeah, and probably
Congratulations for that, man. Like for real, like that's some real shit. Like I don't know what it's gonna
yeah,
do for you, but congratulations for feeling that.
yeah. Well, I mean, the anecdote that I use is like, have you ever gotten just like bad presents from like
Yeah,
from like people you care about, like family or friends or whatever?
for
Like
sure.
you just
Oh,
get this present and you're just like, what makes you think I would want I would want this? It's very nice of you to
Who
give
do
me a
you
present,
think I am?
yeah.
but like this is not something that I would expect to receive. Not that that's I mean that's happened to me a couple times, but it occurred to me one time that the reason that happens is because I don't let myself be known. Like no wonder my distant relative gives me this awful gift, because like my distant relative has no idea who I am. You
Mm.
know, um, and so I just there's I guess I'm trying to find hacks as far as like how to allow that to happen. Uh, Allow myself to be known. So, and this is kind of one of those sorts of things. I don't know if that's a useful
Oh,
anecdote
totally.
or not, but
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, and we're happy to be a part of it too, obviously. So thanks for
well,
being here.
this is a nice soft landing. So I appreciate you guys being receptive to it. So I don't know what I would probably just I would leave if you guys started being too mean.
Yeah, you can just disconnect.
Yeah. Technically, yeah, just close the laptop sometime, whenever.
Yeah.
Oh man. Well, I love this soft landing idea, Rick. Is that a good segue into our final section?
Yeah, I think so. I think that to I like to talk about kind of the things that we experience with that is you'd think that we could get somewhere in an hour and a half.
Yeah.
You'd think that we could provide some clarity on Aaron, and maybe we did. I
I
know
like to think we did.
I think we did, right?
Yeah.
But it just creates more questions, really.
Yeah.
So this
I feel very
show,
overwhelmed.
the show often, kind of challenges that idea of fidelity and how do we get to know an artist. And fundamentally, the reason that we explore that is because most of the fundamental systems that are used to get to know artists are incredibly ineffective. And maybe we're just adding to that lineage and to that history. And that's a good art historical lineage to be a part of. Rejon Proto says, hacker, exclamation point. So, one of the ways that we try to provide fidelity is through these final 10 questions. The form is the same, but the contents change from time to time. As we are going to ask you kind of 10 rapid fire questions to round us off today, that gives us just a bit of perspective on things outside of what we talked about today. None of these topics came up earlier in the show, so we're gonna move through these and definitely take the license that you need to answer these in a way that best reflect your personality. Open up. Get you just feel your heart center, the spinning disc of your heart chakra spinning faster and faster until you can feel this warm emerging, this warm opening, and you'll be received well.
I can feel it already. It's,
We're hacking into our chakras. That's what we're
Yeah.
doing.
What is one simple thing that you're trying to get good at right now?
I don't know if it's simple. It's actually proven to be a lot less simple than what I've been playing way too much with GarageBand on iPad.
Oh yeah.
Like, it has become an issue.
We got the guitars over your left shoulder there. The angel and the devil.
Yeah, there we go.
Yeah, I've played. I don't really consider myself a musician. That's not like something that I've never like really released things or anything like that. But I've dabbled in songs and things like that. And I've played guitar for longer than I haven't. So, but yeah, I got my hands on like a little directional mic that plugs into my iPad, and I was like, oh, I'll open up GarageBand, and like, God, like the floodgates are just like, I did not expect to be like faux producing terrible songs. So anyway, that's what I've been spending like the last 3 weeks. I've just been like wasting days on GarageBand, like, and then listening to really like actual songs that are well produced and realizing how terrible, and then it's just oh god,
yeah, that's not the right way to do it. That's a scary way to go about it.
I just vastly appreciate that you're addicted to it now that you opened a floodgate, because I feel like so many people get into any sort of like DAW, digital audio workspace, like even GarageBand, that like just feels so overwhelming that most people are like,
even GarageBand.
Yeah, well, hey, and actually, it's so interesting. I was actually going to bring up GarageBand earlier. It's so amazing that you brought it up now. I can't believe it happened. But like, it's just typically so overwhelming, and I love that you just like it hooked you rather.
Yeah.
I never hear that narrative ever about like working with computers and music. So I that gives me faith, and very curious what you're making, by the way. Quick side note. So let us know when your mixtape drops.
Yeah.
Well, it took me about 30 years to drop a zine, so
okay.
So we'll see you in like maybe 20 or something.
Don't hold your breath. So we'll see.
Yeah, Rejon also asks where and when can we listen. So, we'll
keep you
promote
posted,
the drop.
Yeah.
Yeah.
For sure.
Yeah. We'll see.
All right. Go ahead, Jake.
Okay. Aaron, what is your favorite type of gum?
Ooh. I mean, I'm not. The last gum that I bought was Juicy Fruit.
Okay. Yeah.
Yeah. I would say I have like all of that sort of like genre, that like small stick pack genre of like Big Red, Double Mint, Juicy Fruit. Like, I would go with any of those three.
It's Wrigley, right? Is that the Wrigley trifecta?
Yeah, probably. Yeah.
I like
Wrigley.
Wrigley.
Just the little slide in the shirt pocket kind of gum for sure.
Yeah. So I mean, the Juicy Fruit, like, it stays in your car though. Like, I had like a pack in there, and like you just smell Juicy Fruit for just like a week.
Yeah.
Oh man.
Yeah,
so
it's
many, like,
it's like a little
memories.
trees air freshener for sure.
Yeah, totally.
What if they made gum?
They should.
That'd be
I want
wild.
a black ice gum. I want to try black ice as gum. It would be delicious.
People would really buy that. People
They
would
really would.
buy that. Yeah.
There's $1 billion idea.
The next question that we have is: have you ever successfully completed a game of Monopoly?
Ooh. So how do you actually complete Like you
There's
just
our
like
answer.
you go until people are done, right? Like until people run out, or do you have to do something? Yeah, probably not.
Yeah.
So the answer is no. Yeah.
We probably come pretty close, but you just give up. Like when people have just like $10 left,
Yeah.
Yeah.
The
just
the
give
late
up.
stage capitalism is the one that really sucks you dry. That's the one that we're living in right now.
Yeah,
Yeah.
Yeah.
yeah, that's the one where you just
Absolutely.
want to get up and walk away. Yeah.
Right.
Smoth doubles down on that little tree's gum. So I'll send him an email later. Let me get like
You
2%.
really should. Aaron, so it's interesting this question that comes up since you do have like a day job that does actually influence your art in a way though. But let's just, for this question, let's get rid of geographer, let's get rid of photographer. Other than being an artist or geographer, what would your dream job be with no limits?
Oh man, I don't know. So I realize so this is the opposite of the answer actually, is that like I really do like my job. So I don't know, like I have no plans of like pursuing other stuff.
St. Louis County, if you're
I mean,
listening.
He loves it.
Yeah, I mean, I'm very fortunate to have the job that I do, and like
Yeah.
plan on staying there for a while.
Absolutely.
I mean, the other stuff that probably would be like some sort of a hermit.
Oh,
Yeah.
a professional
Some sort
hermit.
of, like,
Yeah.
Yeah, if that's a dream job, like
So it's like an
put me
author
in
Like
a-
the
sort
man
of
in the
this.
lighthouse.
yeah, put me in a shack that come and like allow me to come into town like once a week, and I think I would be pretty happy in that role.
That's extra
Okay.
vibes.
That's for sure. That sounds good.
What is that game? Firewatch? Have you ever heard of the game Firewatch?
It's cool.
Yeah, it rings a bell. But
It's a thing of this guy who it's like a game based on a person who is in like a Firewatch shack in like a national park, and they have that kind of life, and you live through the story of like what it would be to do that. But I mean, there's like some juiciness to it too, which might be a little too much. But if there's like Fire Shack Simulator, you might want to look that up on Steam. There's a lot of really pointless shit out there you can spend your time on. What was your favorite cartoon growing up?
I mean, we didn't have cable growing up, so it was all that sort of PBS sort of stuff.
Mm.
Arthur, I guess, would be a cartoon.
Solid choice.
I guess he was a little bit. Yeah, I mean, like cartoon-wise, I guess that was the first one that comes to mind. Of course, I still kind of watch it.
Oh yeah.
What was that? House of Imaginary Friends or whatever that was on Cartoon Network.
Oh yeah.
That was like an adult. That was like an adult
Yeah.
favorite of mine.
That-
Like Blue and the
Yeah.
Fosters.
Oh,
Fosters.
Fosters.
Imaginary.
Home
Mhm.
for
Yeah.
imaginary
It was on the
friends,
same time as like Chowder. I think of those two shows very similarly.
like Adventure Time adjacent.
Yeah.
That was like comfort time for me when I was like 22, I think.
I think
So,
that counts as growing up.
Okay.
Yeah, we're still.
Yeah.
There's always little levels to these questions for sure. I'll take this one because I don't know if you'll have an answer for this. I don't know if you have this in you, Aaron. Who is an artist you hate to love?
I mean, I would say you're right. I don't think I have it in
I
me.
knew it.
I don't think I have like.
You're too positive, man. You don't have that in you. That's good.
Well,
It's a
I think
good
it's
thing.
so it's I think it's probably less about that and more like I don't really know artists.
Mhm.
Oh,
like I didn't go through like the art school gauntlet, so it's something
It's
that
for the best.
I've tried to work on,
yeah.
and trying to get better with stuff. But like one, I'm terrible with names in general, like
Uh-huh.
even like friends and relatives and stuff. So that's difficult. And then two, like I just it's like so overwhelming whenever you come into like the art world and you start hearing people talk about stuff. And so I've been fortunate in that way, in that like really the people that I like see or look up, I choose to, and I'm so it's
Yeah.
like so I tend to like their stuff.
That's
Totally.
good. Yeah. You heard it here first, folks. You can make really great photographs without going to art school. Or you can spend $20,000 and then proceed to drop out of art school like me. So I think it's the right choice. I mean, you can do it.
You can do it. There's ways.
The next one is, when you're driving, are you the giver or the receiver of the finger?
There definitely was a time where I was the giver, but now I'm definitely the receiver. I like
That sounds like
I have a
conviction. You have some sort of conviction there.
I drive the speed limit.
Yeah.
I got like I drive a 2002 Chevy Prism now, and like it's old enough now that I can set the cruise on the speed limit, and people like accept it. It's like, of course, this car is going 60 miles an hour on Highway 40.
The
So,
culture with it makes sense. No, for sure.
yeah, I get the finger just because I'm a slow driver. I'm a very slow driver now. So
Intentional.
yeah.
Mhm.
Aaron, what are your thoughts on Crocs?
Crocs, the footwear.
Yeah.
I assume.
Yeah, not crocodiles. I can see where your mind would go.
Yeah, maybe we should put footwear after that, but yeah.
No, I think this is definitely exhibiting some Aaron traits right here. This is exactly what the question's supposed to do. Yo, you love crocodiles? I like that. Maybe that we should change it to that sometime.
We will.
Crocs the footwear. It would be, I don't know, ambivalent, I guess.
Yeah.
Okay.
We don't have. It's not a pick one. It's just like your general feelings on Crocs. Mine
Yeah.
would be ambivalence.
Mhm.
Definitely.
I've never worn them. I don't necessarily have anything against them. So
Cool. It's fair play. Can you describe your meditation practice or a similar way of relaxing or connecting to your world or your surroundings?
sure. So my wife and I own a yoga studio here in South City that we took over a year ago,
Oh, wow.
January 2020. So yeah, I do a fair amount of yoga. I don't teach or anything. It's all my name's is a partnership with my wife and I, but she is by far the driver and manager of all of it. So
Plug the yoga
I'm
spot.
just kind of
Yep.
it's practicing yoga studio, the kind of the corner of Chippewa and Hampton.
Oh,
Small little place. So we're still up and going.
which
We got
corner?
online. So if you're going a little bit east of the Schnooks there,
Okay.
we are in the across the street from Craft
Oh, yeah.
Beer Cellar,
Yeah, I know exactly what
next
you're
door
talking
to
about.
the State Farm and Barber Shop.
Yeah, I know exactly what you're talking about. Cool.
Yeah. So we it's yeah, it's a lovely studio. My wife has done a fantastic job of keeping it afloat this last year. So we have online classes, and 5 people are allowed for in person, and we have an online subscription model that she launched this year as well. So I've done my best to just be primarily supportive, but there are videos of me doing yoga floating around online if you look hard enough. But so yeah, meditation practice. It would be I try to be consistent with yoga, and I take a lot of walks around the neighborhood. So
You gotta love
that would be how I
the
try.
business of wellness. Like, I was in the wellness industry for 7 or so years before I, decided to be an artist again, and the most relaxing, like, stressful industry. It's like the yoga that you're doing is probably like at least offsetting the stress from owning the yoga studio, hopefully. At the very least. So,
Yeah. No, it's the yoga world is a whole other podcast or a
yeah.
whole other uh, Twitch channel. I mean, it's lovely. I mean, we have a small but growing and wonderful community there, and I'm just happy to be a kind of a small part of it. So
Awesome.
it's a unique sort of niche within that wellness community for sure.
Thanks for sharing that with us. Everybody, go check that out.
Yeah.
Jake, you want to take the last question?
Okay. what is the most memorable response you have received about your work?
Hmm. Um, I don't know. I mean, so the one that probably is pretty mundane, but the one that comes to mind is like it was probably three or 4 years ago. I was introduced to a random stranger in the street on Cherokee, and he was just like, "I really like your work," and I would just kind of, I just started like posting stuff on Instagram or whatever, and that was memorable because I was the first person to ever kind of like say that that I had no idea who they were.
Mm.
I had never met them before. I mean, it's particularly nice and it's memorable now because like I'm super close with that person now. So,
Hmm.
um, but yeah, that kind of took me aback as far as like the possibilities of what happens when you share things. You throw it out there and you never know who might like turn up and make your evening and become like an integral part of your life. So yes, just a simple I really like your work, and me being like, I don't know who you are.
But thank you.
Like, I'm sorry I didn't follow you back, like that sort of thing.
Uh,
That's its own podcast.
yeah.
Follow back. Whoa.
Oh man, no, that's really sweet, and that sums up just an amazing idea, and thanks for sharing that, and um, yeah, I mean it's good to have that experience, and it's also good to know like the power of being able to provide that experience to other people from the other side of the glass, you know.
Yeah, simple honesty and being open just goes a long way. So
Awesome. Well, we are at the end of the show, and not to make this clunky, the endings are always just kind of clunky, like it's like, okay, I'll see you later, like it was good. When's the next time? Yeah, I got this. But the way that we like to end our show here is just to go around the table and have give like one final space for each person on the show to talk about anything that they want. If you have something you want to plug, if you have something that you've been thinking about, if you have something that you want to share, that this would be the opportunity for you to do that, Aaron.
uh, yeah, I mean, I don't have anything particular to add except for thank you for having me on, and thanks for doing this in general. I got a chance to do my own little bit of research and catch up with some of your guys' shows in the past, and I
Thanks.
think what you guys are doing is wonderful, and I hope you guys continue.
Thank you.
Thanks, man. Really appreciate that. Well, just to take my little space, it felt very synergistic when you mentioned you DM'd me your latest zine, and I I felt like you were always on a list, and I remember talking to Rick about your
Hmm.
work for a while, and so we were kind of like literally in a space of like, well, who should we get next, and just like making yourself known, just putting yourself out there, and I'm really glad we talked about that today because it happened, it already did, we that's why we're here right now. So I really appreciate you reaching out, man, and I'm so glad that this could work out, and so excited to see where this stuff goes.
Yeah, and while I have you three here, thanks for the wonderful show today. For your valuable insights, for going with the good parts and the bad parts, of just what it means to be in proximity with one another. Nico in the chat says, coming out alert to say thanks as always for the morning entertainment. Nico, we love you. We appreciate it. We're always happy to see you here. Boogie Nights, thank you for being here. It's always good to see you here. And thanks to the chat, bringing questions and bringing good stuff. So yeah, I mean, like this proximity that we can create. I think it's important to have proximity with one another, even when like it takes extra energy to do so, because we receive the value back, at least like fivefold. I'm not exactly sure like how much we receive that back, but we definitely receive it back. Here, I'm going to switch over to me and send us off. So thanks, y'all. Thanks for being here. That was that, That was the show. That's what our brunch is. It's not, it's it's a vibe. You know, it's brunch. It's something that I wish I could do with my artist friends right now, and don't feel like I can. Again, I want to reiterate, thank you to the chat. Thanks, Rejon Proto, for being here today. Thank you for the kind words. Great show and format. What a great time to be alive and experimenting. I totally agree. Before the show today, we were like, we're making TV shows from our houses now, and live stream, is the place that I love being. I like what it does for us all to bring us together in a moment when the internet can be so disjointed. So if you enjoyed the stream, if you want to keep up with us, you can follow us on Twitch, subscribe to us on YouTube, go like our Facebook page, any of those things. If you want to support us financially, you're able to. I would just save it for right now. We've got some things that we're doing that are going to make it a lot easier and a lot more effective, so this money goes to artists. And some exciting stuff coming up about the nonprofit probably in the next couple of months. So for now, your presence here is amazing. The things that you share with us are amazing, and we will see you next week. Next week we have Alejandro Franco and Kelly Jimenez coming on as a couple for Valentine's Day, which is going to be an amazing show. So I'll quit gushing now, and I will see y'all next